I spent roughly 15 hours with Project Gorgon, about 8-9 hours on Steam and another 5 or 6 hours off stream, which feels like enough time to get a real sense of that this game is trying to do, where it suggests and where it still struggles. I had fun and recommend at least checking it out, especially if you enjoy old school MMORPGs with deep system and a lot of personality. That said, this game absolutely isn't for everyone. Project Gorgon is an old school skill based classes MMORPG developed by Elder Game, a small indie studio led by developers who previously worked on Asheron Call. That lineage is very obviously in both the design philosophy and the moment-to-moment gameplay. The game recently hit in 1.0 release, which brought in a noticeable way of new player. There's a free demo that lets you play up to skill level 15, and if you decide to buy the full game, currently 25 bucks, you progress carrier over. There are also an optional VIP subscription that adds extra character and storage slot, but importantly, there's no pay to win here. That alone makes it pretty easy to recommend it trying the demo first. The most immediate problem I ran into was server stability. At various points, especially as more players logged in, I experienced that lag, rubber banding, delayed response, generally the scenes. To be fair, I don't think the developer expect the spike in player they got after the 1.0 launch. Consistently climbing into the 3000 range with signification for a niche indie MMO, the team did respond by adding additional fresh start server which helped. Still, server performance is a big deal. If players can stay connected or feel in control of their character, there's always going to be a serious barrier, especially for a new player. This is a very complex game, with a lot of interconnecting system, there's tutorial island and it does help, but it doesn't fully prepare you for a deep the game actually. In our first stream, I'm honestly not sure we will have progression as smoothly as we did without help from players who already knew the game. I don't think Project Gorgon needs heavy high holding. It will actually hurt would make it specially. The clearer exploration of some core system early on would go a long way toward helping new players stick with it. Gear drop with early skill level, gear in Progression Gorgon is very important, almost in an ARPG sense. Items don't just add stat, they directly affect specific skills like Unarmed, Sword, Archery, Psychology, Bard skill. The issue I noticed that early on this many gear drops had skill requirement well above my current levels. I was getting items that required skill level 15 in multiple skills while my skills were still around 8 or 9. So while it was nice to gear dropping, a lot of it was usable for quiet while early on that creates some friction. You don't feel as powerful as you might expect. Inventory fills up quickly. You're constantly deciding what to keep or sell. There's a large crafting system that like smooth is out later, but the early game is noticeable. Yes, the game looks old school, very EverQuest 2 in terms of visually. Personally, graphics don't matter much to me, if the gameplay is good. So while this might be a deal breaker for some players, it would list it's one of the game major problems. If the system hook you, the visual become much less important. This is easily my favorite part of the game. Skill-based progression. There are no character level, everything is skill-based. Combat, crafting exploration, even dying is a skill. If you die enough, you gain experience in the death skill, which provides benefit related to things like heals and necromancy. Even eating food is a skill, which eventually provides real mechanic benefits. The system feels for more organic than traditional level getting, and I wish more MMORPG were willing to experiment with idea like this. You don't pick a class when you start. Anyone can learn anything. That said, realistically, mastering every skill will take an enormous amount of time and most players naturally specialize it long before they become an issue. I've always liked this design psychology. If you want to learn something new, I should be able to seek it out even if it's difficult or time consuming. It makes character feels personal instead of looked into predefined boxes. Project Gorgon has a lot of charm. There is subtle humor throughout the game, including an NPC that eventually messes with you. On the tutorial island there is an NPC who repeatedly calls you by the wrong name. At first, I genuinely thought I made a mistake during character creation. It also has some true strange mechanics. You can be cursed and turn it into animals like cows, spiders, vampires, or werewolves. Each one has its own skill lines. Yes, cows can be milked. Yes, other players can milk you. It's weird, but it's weird in a way that gives the game a really identify. One thing that stood out immediately was the community. People were helpful, friendly, and passionate, which matters a lot in game and complex. Being able to ask questions without getting mocked makes a huge difference for a new player. Project Gorgon is old school, deep, complex, weird, fluid, and genuinely fun. It absolutely has an area that improvements, especially server stability and early game clarity, but it also offers something that many modern MMORPG don't: freedom, experimentation, and personality. Goodbye.